Hi everyone, back to Information Economics. Today we're going to have our lecture 3 and we will start with, of course, lecture 3.1. In today's and in our next lecture, we will discuss the incentive issues in decentralized systems. We have spent 2 weeks to study basic optimization and game theory, and that's for us to start our discussion about incentive issues in a decentralized system. Okay, and in lecture 3.1, I'm going to introduce to you the basic idea about the incentive issue, in particular, two terms, incentive misalignment and double marginalization. Okay, so we always hope that people can cooperate and together to maximize first social welfare and then do a fair allocation to, in some sense, maximize the whole profits, the whole utility for all those people. Okay, but in that case, we will say that complete centralization or complete integration is the best we may do. It's a perfect world. But we all know that it is somewhat impossible. Okay, we cannot expect all the people to act for others' welfare, for others' utility, because each people or each person has his or her self-interest. In some sense, I need to first be able to feed myself before I can feed other people, right? I need to somehow care about myself first before I can care about other people. And in some situations, people are just selfish. I have no reason to just be nice to be other people. Why should I do that, right? So in this world, we just cannot expect people to be freely nice to other people. So that means, in general, we are facing decentralized systems. Okay, people do not cooperate in a decentralized system, and facing these decentralized systems, we will not try to make them integrated. Okay, we know that integration is the best we may have, but it's just impractical. So we will not try to solve those problems in this way. We will not try to integrate these systems. So we will not assume that people will act for the society. We will instead assume that all the people are selfish. Under this assumption, we see what we may do. And typically what we do is to seek for some mechanisms to improve the efficiency. And that's why we have a field called mechanism design. We design mechanisms that can best or better induce people to behave for the society in a decentralized system. We do not assume they are nice to other people, but we design mechanisms so that people under the mechanism will do something that is better for other people. Okay, so we want to design mechanisms, so we need to know what are those issues we need to take care of in a decentralized system. The first issue is the incentive issue. Okay, if you take a few minutes to think about any decentralized system, you will realize that it's all about incentives. For example, in a company, workers need incentives to work hard. As an employer, I need to somehow find a way to motivate my workers to work hard. This is exactly the case that in a school, we need to give students some incentive to keep their labs clean. Okay, if no one cares about the lab, or if there's no enough incentive, then students will treat the lab or the building as a public goods, and eventually the lab or the building will just be unclean. For other situations, manufacturers need incentive to improve product quality. Okay, suppose I'm a retailer, then I always want to sell good products because consumers prefer good products. Okay, but I have no way to ask, to require my manufacturer to improve the product quality. Okay, so I need to give some incentives to the manufacturer to improve product quality. And as a last example, if I am operating a social network, I always hope users to use my social network as more time as possible. Okay, I need to give them some incentives to keep them in my social network, to disallow them to log off. Okay, that's something I need to do. So besides incentive issues, there's another thing we are going to call it an information issue. Actually, that's the heart of information economics. For example, in our first two examples here, efforts of workers and students are hidden. Why there are those incentive issues is because that we cannot control workers and students' effort, or we cannot verify whether they have worked hard or not. That's something we call a hidden effort problem. It's because that their efforts are hidden, and that's why we have those incentive issues. The same thing happens to product quality and how people use social networks. Okay, because quality are somewhat hidden. As a retailer, I do not know the quality; only the manufacturer knows. Or in social network, I know how much time people use my social network, but I do not know how willingness they want to use. Okay, so it's because of these situations, because of these facts, we have those incentive issues. In general, we may see that information issues amplify or even introduce or create incentive issues. In many situations, it is because there is an information issue, and that's why we have incentive issues. For example, because product quality cannot be verified, we cannot sign a contract to ask a manufacturer to produce a product that is as good as some standard, and that's why there is this incentive issue. Okay, so incentive issue and information issue, we're going to see that they are just together. Okay, so because we have incentive issue, so the typical goal in designing a mechanism for decentralized system is to align the incentive of different players. As an example, suppose today I'm an employer and I want my workers to work as hard as possible. For example, I ask them to sell some products, to promote my products to users. But as a worker always prefers vacation to works. If possible, I want to be as lazy as possible, right? So there must be some duty, or there must be some monitoring for a worker to work hard. And we say that there may be incentive misalignment between the employer and the employee. Employer wants the worker to work hard, but the employee wants to be lazy. That's what we call incentive misalignment. What they want are different. So in this particular case, let's see what's the possible way to align their incentives. Because there is incentive misalignment because what they want are different. So what the employer may do is to put what she cares, what the employer cares, into the employee's utility function. What does that mean? The employer wants the company to generate profits, to generate revenues, right? If the employee does not care about the profit or the revenue, he will try to be as lazy as possible. And that's why we see sales bonus and commissions in the world. As an employer, to give employees incentive to work hard, I need to align our incentives by connecting connecting the employees' payoff to my sales outcome. Okay, as long as you can generate a higher sales, you're going to get more, and that's how I put what I care into the employee's utility function. That's how I align our incentives. Okay, so for all the incentive issues in a decentralized system, what we want is to align their incentives. So incentive misalignment in general there may be multiple formats, but in a supply chain or a distribution channel, there is a particular name or particular fact caused by incentive misalignment. It's called double marginalization. So that was this. Reconsider our problem about pricing in a supply chain. We know that there is a unit cost. The retailer charges a higher wholesale price, and then the retailer charges an even higher retail price. Why do that happen? It's because the manufacturer wants to do marginalization. The manufacturer wants to get some positive margin so that he can get some positive profits. Okay? So that's one layer of marginalization. The manufacturer must make the wholesale price higher. So that's one thing. Also, the retailer wants the same thing. He wants another layer of marginalization so that the retail price is higher than the wholesale price so that the retailer can get positive profits. And that's why we say the equilibrium retail price is too high. It's not at the efficient level, and both firms are hurt by double marginalization. Here's one layer of marginalization, another layer. In total, there are two layers. There are double marginalization in this supply chain, and that hurts both firms. Another example we saw is the indirect news vendor problem. Okay, there's a unit cost. As a manufacturer, again, I charge a higher wholesale price to get one layer of marginalization. And then here, the retailer does not face a pricing problem. Instead, the retailer must decide an order quantity or inventory level, right? Here, because the retailer wants to get some profit, so he needs to find a quantity that is optimal for himself, not for the system. Okay? The retailer will make his decision to maximize his own payoff. This is another layer of marginalization. Again, there's one layer, there's two layers, there's double marginalization in this system. Okay. Eventually, we have proved that the equilibrium inventory level will be too low. And the whole reason is that this wholesale price is too large. Okay? And both firms are hurt by this fact, by double marginalization, by decentralization. We say the two systems are both inefficient because the equilibrium decisions are system suboptimal. Okay? There is the system optimal retail price. There is the system optimal order quantity, inventory level. Okay? But in our decentralized system, we have shown to you that the equilibrium outcome are just system suboptimal. Price can go too high, or the inventory level can do too low under decentralization. That's why we say the two systems are both inefficient, because the equilibrium decisions are not efficient, are not system optimal. Okay, so what we should do, as we mentioned, we want to design mechanisms to reduce inefficiency or to enhance efficiency. We do not want to try to do complete integration, okay, because we say it's impractical. What we want is to design mechanisms. So what are mechanisms? What we want is to make players interact in a different way, and that means we need to change the rules of our games. We need to change the mechanism. Mechanisms are just some game rules. We are telling these players how to play the rule. When the rules become different, then their behaviors will become different, and that's something we want. We want to induce satisfactory behaviors, or we want to induce efficient equilibrium decision. Okay? One example you have seen is the ultimatum game. Okay? In the original version, one guy offers, the other one says yes or no. We know eventually the allocation is unfair. Okay? But we may change the game rule to be the first one offers, and then the other one choose one of the two parts. And that's the only thing we changed for the game. We changed one game rule, and eventually the new ultimatum game becomes, the outcome becomes socially efficient. The allocation becomes fair. That's the power of changing game's rule. That's the power of choosing different mechanisms. So to introduce to you this topic, we're going to introduce two seminal papers, that means classic papers, that show some ways to enhance efficiency by introducing different mechanisms. We're going to show you that mechanism is a very general term and it can be implemented in many different ways. The first paper we're going to tell you today is about how to change the contract format between two players in a distribution channel. Okay, that's something we're going to go into details later. And the other paper is going to be about how may we change the channel structure. Okay, in some sense, in the first paper, the number of players are still there. It's just how they play the game becomes different. In the second paper, you're going to see that we may change the game rule or the game sequence by introducing new players, and that may certainly create some different things. Okay, these two papers are just classics. Okay, they are so influential. They have been cited for around 1,000 times since they have been published. They have been published in this journal, Marketing Science. Okay, this is one of the most prestigious marketing journal in the world. Okay, and these are examples for you to see that how our theory, how this field, information economics, may be applied to, in this case, marketing problems. Okay, how to design your contract format, how you choose your channel structure. Okay, these are the information of these two papers, and later I'm going to start to introduce the second paper. Thank you.